What's up, y'all? This is Brant with CPC Bodybuilding, the home of men's classic physique. Today, I got a special treat for you guys, previewing the Atlanta Pro with IFBB Pro JT Pelkey, who was last year's Atlanta Pro champion, Chicago Pro champion, and classic physique Olympian. JT, welcome to the show, man. Thanks for coming on.
And thank you for having me on. I'm haven't done a lot of this type of stuff, but I'm always grateful. So thank you. Looking forward to it.
Yeah, of course, man. So we got a big lineup for you guys. This is 26 classic physique competitors at this year's 2023 Atlanta Pro. So what we'll do is we will go through each of these guys. We'll go through the live stream details, and then we'll pick our top 5 and our winners at the very end. So without further ado, I'm going to share my screen and we're going to jump into it, guys. All right, so here is our full lineup. Now, show details. So the show begins Saturday, July 15th at 11 a.m. Eastern time for prejudging. Finals at 4 p.m. Now, these are approximate times because there are other divisions going that day. And I think the amateurs are also going on Saturday as well. So we've got our lineup here, a really long list. So we've got Cremo Amari, Zeke Andrews, Theodore Atkins Jr., Anthony Barbera III, Rodrigo Coelho, Miguel Dominguez, Carlos Domar, Karel Draper, Yunlong Fong, Farzad Gopi, Matt Grego, Daquan Hinton, Jim Holcomb, Keith Jenkins, Keith Lanier, Chris London, Miguel Sanchez Lopez, Ricardo Martinez, Olusomo Oni, Antoine Powers, Jose Tirado Rodriguez, Tyler Sibley, Aaron Sparenberg, Tyler Talent, Tim Tevin, and Jeremiah Willies. So that is our 26-man Atlanta Pro lineup. Now, if y'all want to tune into the show, you can stream it here at plus.muscleandfitness.com. I'm going to have that in the description for you guys just so you can go check it out. It's $40, but this live stream should be pretty high quality. Muscle and Fitness does a great job typically. So if you want to watch the show and can't attend, you can check that out. And I'll try to give you guys the updates on Instagram as well as potentially some highlights coming on YouTube afterwards. So without further ado, we're going to go through each of these guys individually. So first up, we've got Cremo Amari out of the UAE. And he last appeared at the Legion Pro last year where he took 7th place. This is him on the far right. Now, JT, we're going to go through a couple of these shots here. Now, this is him standing next to a guy who has already qualified for the O this year, Eric Wildberger. So Cremo here on the right, like I mentioned. Just looking through a couple of these shots, you know, we got the front double here. We got the back double like I just showed. Ab and thigh. Now, what stands out to you in terms of some of his strengths?
I think his biggest strength is just his symmetry and structure. He has a really good look. I just feel like, you know, for him, if he's going to be a real big threat at this show, it's probably just going to be conditioning. Because yeah, he has some really good structure and maybe could fill out a little bit more up top, and maybe he's done so in this past year. So
yeah, he's definitely one of those guys I think he's top 10 in this lineup for sure. He's got the great structure, the classic look, the lines, and really, I think you hit the nail on the head. Is he going to be big enough to win in this lineup? But that's Cremo Amari, guys. Next up, we've got Zeke Andrews out of Stuart, Florida. This guy is one of my dark horses. He won the 2021 Miami Muscle Beach Pro. So he's already won a pro show and qualified for the O. And when we look at Zeke, JT, what are some strengths in his physique?
this dude's super aesthetic. And yeah, I remember whenever he competed, was it 2 years ago? And I remember he was on stage with Danny Unin, and like I think Danny still ended up winning that show, but really, really pushed him, and then he qualified for the O right after. And like, I mean, this dude's got everything that it takes. He's just got to nail it. I mean, he looks solid.
Yeah,
He's
absolutely, man. And I think his recent placings really haven't reflected just how good he is. He took 11th here at the New York Pro, which is,
yeah.
I think, probably his worst pro placing ever. It was a really strong lineup, but you know,
Well, and
Zeke.
I'm sorry, but
Oh, you go ahead.
I know that is not with the same coach. I don't know if he's with a different coach, but I know he's not with the same coach he was with whenever he won those shows. And so whoever he's with, or if it's himself coaching, it just probably takes a little bit of figuring out and fine tuning because he looks good here, but there's a difference in good and winning, and he's had time, so maybe he's gotten there.
Yeah, 100%, man. Zeke Andrews, a dark horse here. You guys need to watch out for him,
Yeah,
100%.
great look for sure.
So next up, we got Theodore Atkins Jr. Now he won the 2022 Max Fit Muscle Pro 35 plus division. And what really stands out to me for a Masters Pro, I mean, he looks great. I think his biceps are just nuts, just
Yeah,
genetically very gifted with the bicep insertions, just crazy
yeah, that peak,
biceps.
that crazy bicep peaks. I bet the back double looks pretty good.
Yeah, we can take a quick look at that one. Yeah,
Yeah, those
definitely
biceps
stand
are
out
crazy.
there.
Um,
So that's Theodore Atkins, guys, a Masters Pro. And next up, we've got probably one of the favorites in this lineup, last year's Atlantic Coast Pro champ, Philly's best classic physique competitor. That's Anthony Barbera III. And what's he known for in your mind, JT?
Conditioning for sure. He gets shredded. That's no question. So if anybody is slacking on conditioning, this guy's gonna get him for sure. He can
We've
pose
got
pose
some,
pretty good. He could use some more size. If I was going to give a critique, he could be bigger, and I'm sure he knows that. But he definitely brings the conditioning, and it's definitely he could sneak up and take it.
yeah, he's one of those guys who he's a real workhorse. He controls the things he can control, the crisp,
Yeah,
clean condition. The posing is very composed and very strategic. He picks his best shots. He doesn't waste his poses and his routines. So a seasoned vet here, and I think Barb's is definitely going to be in that conversation for the top spot.
yeah, absolutely.
So that's Anthony Barbera III. Next up, Rodrigo Coelho of Brazil, a Masters pro who also competes in open classic physique. Now, he won the Masters division at the Charlotte Cup just a few weeks back. And what stands out to me is his quads. He just has great quad detail. I think that's his biggest strength. You're going to see some of these photos from Charlotte, and a lot of these guys bring very great condition, but I think Rodrigo has very, very solid structure as well that
Yeah, he does.
stands out.
He looks like he's peaked pretty well. Like he's got very crisp lines, but he's popping at the same time. Like
Hmm.
looks pretty good. So that's good. He needs to bring that peak, and he should be pretty solid.
So
This
then,
is he won a Masters Pro Show.
yeah, he won Masters at Charlotte this year.
Nice. Well, that's cool. Hey, do you know, does that mean he's going to the Masters Olympia? Or
So the only thing that qualifies you for the Masters Olympia, I believe, is if you get invited.
oh,
Um,
okay.
yeah,
Gotcha.
and there's one guy in this lineup who we'll talk about later who got an invite and is going to
Sweet.
compete. So, but next up we've got Miguel Dominguez. Last appearance was at the Chicago Pro in 2021, where he took 11th. And I think like the first thing that stands out to me is just the condition, like his,
Yeah, he's definitely shredded.
and this
He's
was
definitely
11th
shredded,
place, which is
but
crazy too.
like if he would be, it's weird kind of how people are conditioned more in different areas, and like maybe it's how he's flexing, but if that glute was hard and shredded right there, like that would go a long ways, and that serratus or whatever, his abs right there, if they would just maybe crunch down or something. Um, yeah, my bad. I'm gonna turn into a like I'm doing a live stream critique or something.
No, that's what this is all about, man. So that's Miguel Dominguez, guys. Watch out for him. Next up, I think one of the favorites in this lineup, Carlos Domar, last year's Optimum Classic champ. Now, let's take a look at some of these photos. And JT, I want your take on Carlos's physique. What kind of stands out to you in some of these shots?
Well, I mean, he's really just complete. Like he's got all the muscle everywhere, pretty much. I mean, like he's not lacking any size anywhere. And I mean, I guess if I had to nitpick, maybe it's posing, but he could maybe have a little bit more hamstring But this dude is like he looks really good. He has a really, really aesthetic look. I'll be honest, that last spread though, I don't the way he's hitting that is actually I feel like he could look better either doing it maybe just not doing that pose or doing that pose differently. Because he looks big, but he looks more like he could just hop right into 212 right here. And because you need to be aesthetic in all the divisions, and so that small waist, like, to me, this looks like a bodybuilding pose. But the physique is great. He looks great, and definitely like one of the top contenders. Definitely one to watch for.
Yeah,
Yeah,
absolutely. I think from the back,
Luther.
he's lights out. This
Yeah,
back double was insane.
yeah. I was gonna say like I said, he's got all the development, which I feel like sometimes in classic physique, that's kind of what you're lacking is development in certain areas, and that's why maybe they're not just an open guy or whatever. But this he's pretty complete everywhere. He's got muscle everywhere you need to have it, and his glutes are nasty. So yeah. Again, I feel like I don't know if he's crunching his abs down or what, but I feel like he could have a little bit more width in his back if he popped his chest up more. But yeah, he looks this is good. Like he could win with this.
Yeah, so that's Carlos Domore, guys. You gotta watch out for this guy. I'm telling y'all. Next up, we got Carell Draper, who is making his pro debut. So this is from NPC Universe last year, where he turned pro. He won Class A and also won the Masters overall at that show. And I think he's got great development. When I
Yeah,
look at his upper body, especially, that's what stands out to me. I think
yeah,
probably the condition in the lower half is what could come
yeah. If he
along.
was more conditioned, if he brought this but more conditioned, he'd be a real threat. I mean,
Mhm.
I don't know what the back looks like, but he looks pretty dang good.
Yeah, unfortunately, no back
Only a
shots
few
on
pictures.
this, and then I couldn't find anything on Instagram either, which is typically not a good sign if you don't see a shot somewhere. But
Yeah,
I won't insinuate anything in that regard. But that's Carell Draper. Next up, we got a guy he literally just appeared on social media, I think a day ago. I just found his account, but he has like two photos. Now, this is from the 2019 Japan Pro. This is Yunlong Fong out of China. And he's a big dude, but it's really hard to tell how good he's going to be because this condition right here is like somewhere between like 80-85% in my opinion. And it's
yeah.
not
And
going
it
to
seems
be.
like weird lighting.
Yeah. This is from a show 3 years ago, too. So this is, I mean, actually 4 years ago, rather. So could
So it'd
be,
be interesting to see him size down.
yeah. I mean, if he brings the condition, along with 212 size, it could make things interesting. But, it's so hard to tell, especially when we haven't even seen what his best looks like. But
Yeah.
Yunlong Fong out of China, guys. Next up, we've got another Masters pro who competes in Open Classic Physique. This is Farzad Gotbi out of Canada. And just looking at his Toronto Pro photos from this year where he placed 11th, his strength is condition and the front shots, without a doubt, in my mind. I think he's just his condition is incredible, if you ask me.
Yeah,
Lots of
he looks
deep,
solid. He needs to twist his waist up though. But
yeah,
he needs a pose to where he's trying to show a little bit more of that taper.
yeah. And if I've got
Conditioning's
any
good.
critiques, it's probably the hamstrings.
Yeah.
Um,
His conditioning is pretty solid though. That chest thickness.
so that's Farzad Goatby. Next up, this is a guy I definitely want your take on, JT. This is Matt Grego, who has been one of the most hyped guys on socials this year. He just recently made the switch to Classic after a relatively successful men's physique rookie year. He gets featured a lot on Daniel Bodybuilders Without Borders account. Took sixth at the New York Pro. What are your thoughts on his physique and his potential in the division?
Man, so first off, I'll definitely agree with all the hype and everything. Like I was actually, I think it was the Chicago Pro that we both did. He did men's physique, and I was doing classic, and we talked a bit, and I just was just telling him like, dude, you could definitely do classic, and a lot of people were saying that. But so I'm glad that he did. He definitely looks like a classic guy. I mean, to be honest, and I don't want this to be taken the wrong way, but I feel like if he wanted to, he could be an open guy. Like he looks like just like he could just be big. But I think his potential with this show, like he's one of the guys that very well could steal it. It's just a matter of, just nailing the conditioning and peaking. And, he's new to peaking with this much size. And he looks good pretty much everywhere. It's just seeing him next to other guys, I guess. I don't know. He's solid. I like this dude. I mean, we're friends,
Yeah, I
but
really like his
no
structure.
bias in my critique.
Yeah, his structure is very, very solid. That's the
Yeah.
one thing that stands out to me. I think he's very balanced too. I think probably his weakest shot is the back double. And I do know he's been pushing pretty hard in between this show and the previous one. Him and Aceto have really been, pushing the condition and trying
Yeah.
to deplete as much as possible to bring the best look.
Yeah. Yeah, I would agree. His back is like a tiny bit flat whenever he hits his back double. But like his lower lats. But aside from that, like yeah, he looks great, man. I'm excited for him in general and for the future.
Yeah. So that's Matt Grego, guys. Next up, we got Daquan Hinton. So Daquan is making his second pro appearance, and he took fifth at the Toronto Pro in 2021. Right there, along with some really solid guys who are now top pros, but we haven't seen Daquan in a couple of years. So hoping to see improvements from the previous showing where he took top five. And one thing that I think stands out is I think his structure from the front is very superb.
Yeah, he's definitely got good structure, and I'm sure his waist. So yeah. When he pulls up his chest and kind of vacuums, his waist is even smaller. And yeah, he looks pretty good. I bet you this is a guy that really like posing. And I'm not saying his posing is bad. I haven't seen it, but when it comes to guys like this is kind of what the pro league is like a bunch of guys that look really awesome. And then it just comes down to the fine details, like who poses better, who shows off what they have better. So that's probably what I would say for him.
Yeah,
'Cause he looks
100%,
he looks
man.
pretty crazy.
Yeah, he's got an insane physique. It's just really a matter of presenting it. So we'll find out and see if he is able to present his physique in a way that warrants a top 10. So that is Daquan Hinton. Next up, we got Jim Holcomb, who is 57 years old and looks fantastic at
Yeah,
57. This is
that's dope.
he's one of the more senior guys in classic physique, and I've seen him compete a few times, and Jim just looks insane for 57. I mean, I think,
Yeah, it really does. That picture, yeah, that one right there is what I was looking at. Like, because with his waist kind of twisted, like, and that's another one. Like, if he can pose right, like, shoot, he looks pretty damn solid.
yeah, so that's Jim Holcomb, who last appeared at the Daytona Masters Pro. Next up, we got Keith Jenkins, who took seventh at Optimum this year. And JT, when we look at some of these show photos from Optimum, what are some features of Keith's physique that stand out?
He's definitely conditioned, no doubt about that. His legs are nasty, and I actually remember this guy. I competed with him at one of the shows last year, and he's improved a ton. I'll say that. Just everywhere, muscularity, conditioning, posing. But yeah, he's shredded. He was definitely wasn't this condition whenever I was competed against him either. So yeah, he looks pretty big. He looks like he could be bigger in general. I don't know where he's at versus his weight cap. He looks like he could still just put some more size on, and especially if he could somehow kind of put it in one particular area, just kind of need some more quad sweep and stuff that in the areas that give him some more shape. But he's shredded, so that's dope.
Yeah, Keith Jenkins, everybody. Next up, we got Keith Lanier, who took 10th at the 2021 All States Pro. This is the best photo that I could find of him on Instagram. So on the left, I believe, is right after that show. And what stands out to me is the extremely tiny waist. I think he's got fantastic structure. So he took 11th at that show, or actually 10th, sorry. He took 10th at that show. And that was a pretty talented lineup. So I'll be intrigued to see what kind of gains he's made in the past couple of years. So that is Keith Lanier. Next up, we got Chris CP London, who made his last appearance at the Atlantic Coast Pro, which is these three photos right here. He took 11th place. And in terms of Chris's strengths, I think the hardness in the upper body is something that he really shines with. If you just look at the delts, the
Yeah.
abdominals, the chest, and he's got really solid legs too. I think if those are dialed in and the hamstrings as well, very well could be a top 10 guy in this lineup. So that's Chris London.
Yeah, he's
Next,
always nails,
yeah, always.
like veiny.
Next up, we got Miguel Sanchez Lopez. Last appearance was at Tampa in 2022, where he did not place. And he looks, pretty crisp from the front. Really, the issue was these back shots. I'll just pull it up. And this is something that you were kind of alluding to earlier, JT, is some people were really conditioned in some areas, and then others, it's like, a different story. And I think really if he can figure it out from the back, that's going to be the difference here, because you can't
Yeah.
see any lines at all. So
Yeah. He could pose it a little different, but yeah, he needs to be more conditioned and more size in the legs.
that is Miguel Sanchez Lopez. Next up, we got Ricardo Martinez. Now, he last appeared at the Savannah Pro last year, where he did not place. And really, I think the story of this, you'll see it in the 4K video here, is he looks great in the lower body. I think he just needs more size up top. I think he's a shorter guy in general. So really just putting on that size, just if he put on the size this offseason, he's got good shape. I think this is still a while ago. So
It looks much better right there, though.
yeah, here we go. So these are from 3 weeks out. So his condition looks like, granted it's different lighting and not stage lighting,
It
but the
looks a lot more
condition is,
balanced. It looks
yeah,
a lot more balanced now.
yeah. So that is Ricardo Martinez. Next up, this is the guy who's going to be appearing at the Masters Olympia this year. This is Olusomo Oni out of Texas. And when we look at his physique, I'm trying to find some good photos here. I think really the one critique that I would have is condition hasn't quite been there this year. But he's got great arms. That's the one thing that stands out to me. Is
Yeah, his biceps are
fantastic
huge.
arms. And I think he won the Masters Pro at Tampa a couple of years ago, or placed second in it. But really the entire story, and this is 3 days out, I think is just nailing the condition. Looks like it could be a bit sharper, but he did get an invite to the Masters Olympia. So that definitely says a lot about his potential and what he's brought to the stage before.
Definitely. It looks good. Yeah, it just needs to lean out.
So that's Olusomo Oni. Next up, this is a guy who I think is a dark horse in this lineup. Probably the least talked about guy who I think could be top 5. This is Antoine Powers. And he is second from the left right there. So Marcus Perry, who won Hurricane last year, is center left. And then we have a couple of guys who have been, in the top 3 at other shows. We got Sam Pekin in the center right, who won the Toronto Pro this year. So Antoine's up there with a lot of these guys. Now, as they're going through the quarter turns and the compulsories, what are some of the shots that stand out to you, JT?
Well, I don't think anything really stands out too much. Like it's pretty close, but I think here, like if I'm judging this show, like it's conditioning, and Marcus has got quite a bit more width in the legs, and back is pretty close. But yeah, I don't see nothing that really stands out. Like I agree that he could definitely be a threat. So it just kind of depends what he's done. He's got good shape. I think that he came from Men's Physique or something. Maybe don't. I hope, like, I don't want to offend him if I'm wrong or something, but um, yeah, I think just from what I know about him, just some leg size and nailing the conditioning with the leg size, and he's in there.
Yeah, I think the shape and the structure, like you alluded to, is his biggest calling card here.
Yeah,
And it's really just filling out.
yeah. It's just like looking at the quad straight on. He needs quad sweep. He has decent size, like overall leg size, but you need to put that size on the outside. You need to have that quad sweep to make that shape.
Yeah.
And he's just that's just fine tuning.
Mhm.
His delts and chest and lats look nuts.
Yeah, his waist is just non-existent.
Yeah.
So that's Antoine Powers, guys. Another threat to the first call out. So next up, we got Jose Tirado Rodriguez, who went pro at USA's last year in bantamweight. So very, very, um, just a small guy in general. In
Yeah.
order to
Okay.
go
What's
pro in
Bantam?
bantamweight.
You know what Bantam is? What weight is that?
Yeah, it's like in the 130s, 140s. So
Oh
very,
shoot. So he,
very
he must be pretty short because he doesn't
yeah,
look he looks small but not tiny, tiny. So he must be pretty short.
yeah.
That's dope.
But this is his pro debut, so we'll get to see him battle it out in the classic ranks. Jose Tirado Rodriguez. Next up, we got Tyler Sibley, who is so he's working with Sebastian, the heavy unit, the same guy who coaches Anthony Barbera the third.
Mhm.
And Tyler didn't really have a great season last year by his own standards, I know. Had some kind of rough placings, but I think he's got potential. JT, when you
Yeah.
look at his physique, what are some qualities that you would say are his strengths?
Is this right now?
So
Is
this
this
is earlier this week, I believe.
okay? Yeah, I mean he looks pretty conditioned as like, all the way up the legs, like all the way up to the hip. Um, Conditioning is there. So just I mean, yeah, Sebastian's good. I'm sure they'll nail the peak on top of that. This dude looks pretty good. I guess maybe size. I don't know his height, weight, stuff like that, but um, yeah, if he poses right, he could definitely use that conditioning and aesthetics and like he be a real threat.
Yeah, so that's Tyler Sibley, guys. Next up, we got Aaron Sparenberg, who took 12th at Tampa last year. And this is a huge dude. I want to say he's like 6'3" or 6'4". So very imposing type of presence on stage. Really, the one critique I would have is it's the one thing that all tall guys struggle with, and that's filling out the legs. It's the
Yeah,
hardest thing.
yeah. And is this guy older? You say he's a master's guy?
I believe he's in his 40s. Yeah.
Okay. That seems to be a common theme. I mean, like even myself, I'm not that old, but I've just had injuries and the legs seem to kind of go away first.
Mm-hmm. That's Aaron Sparenberg. Next up, we got Tim Tevin, another Masters pro who had some good placings in Masters shows. I know he did Daytona last year. I really like the front shots for him. Very sharp
Yeah.
throughout the front
Yeah.
shots, especially in the quads. You can see everything there.
Yeah,
So
he's peeled. That's no doubt.
Tim Tevin, guys. And lastly, we got Jeremiah Willies, who took second place at the Mid USA Pro. Now, JT, this is the guy I want your take on. So, what
Yeah,
do you think of his physique?
I think he looks pretty good, man. I mean, we can always ask for some things to get closer to perfection, but if he's gotten better and comes peaked and lean, and I mean, this dude's got a really, really good shape. Is he older as well? He looks a little bit older.
I think
Um,
he's in his 40s too, man.
okay. But yeah, like if you just look at the symmetry from like his arms to waist, he looks good, man. Like, this guy could be a threat too. If it's always going to come down to the conditioning and everything. But I like his shape a lot. I like his legs. He looks like he has like an old school look.
Yeah, exactly, man. The exact same thing, man. I said he has kind of like the 90s
Yeah,
type of look.
yeah,
Uh, but that is Jeremiah Willies, guys. I think so. I think the big question with him is I know he had trouble making weight at Mid USA. And I don't know if I feel comfortable talking about what went on at weigh-ins because a lot of people witnessed it. But let's just say he might have been a bit heavy on stage. So
okay.
uh, so I'm interested to see if this look is going to preserve
I see.
if he's going to get the same gift that he got at Mid USA. That's just
Right, 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 right. Okay, yeah, interesting.
yeah, yeah. I won't go into details or out my sources on that one, but
I guess yeah, that's always fun.
yeah. So that's our full lineup, guys. Now JT and I are going to give our picks for our top five. So JT, as the guest, I'll let you pick. Do you want me to go first, or would you like to do the honors?
All right, maybe I don't know. Maybe we can collab a little bit, and before I
Yeah,
set like a solid top five, maybe we can bring out like a top call out and like kind of review a little bit. So, like I know some of the guys you went over at first, like Zeke, um, um, Anthony, which I just know him on Instagram so much, like Coach Barb's.
yeah.
Let me see here. That Crimo, I think he'll be up there. Let me see.
Carlos.
Yes, absolutely, Carlos.
I think Antoine maybe too. Antoine Powers.
Yeah, so Matt Grego for sure. You
Mhm.
said Antoine. Um, Now was there two Antoines or no,
No,
there
there's
was
just
just
one.
one.
So
Okay.
Antoine's the
And
guy
yeah, I
who,
know, I remember which one. I just was double checking because I thought his name was
yeah,
slightly different than that. But all right, the corn. Let's see.
I think that's honestly a really solid top
Yeah,
set.
that's six guys. That's a top. I'm gonna put Tyler Sibley in there in that
Okay.
top call out. I'm gonna put Tyler Sibley in there. All right, man, this is tough. All right, so we got a call out. I did that. So now you go. Who's your
All
top
right.
five?
All right. So I'll go ahead and do my fifth place. I've got Zeke in fifth. I really like Zeke, and I think he's gonna improve from the last show. But really, what the big thing for me is how dramatic is the improvement going to be? Because we know he's got the capability to win this show, but
Yeah,
the guys I've got ahead of him are going to probably just edge him out in terms of size and potential condition. So I've got Zeke in fifth.
okay.
And then in fourth place, I've got Jeremiah Willies. I I hope he makes weight. I sure as hell hope he makes weight because he's got a fantastic physique. I want to see him do well too. Really a big fan of his look, that 90s type of
Yeah.
shrink wrapped type of look. He's got the classic look, and I'm a big fan. I think he's going to be one of the bigger guys in this lineup, truthfully, because he stood next to Damian and really held his own at Mid USA. And I've got Jeremiah in fourth place. And then in third place for me, I got Matt Grego. I really love Grego's structure. I think
Like,
some of the hype is justified, but I do think he still has one more step to take in Classic before he really reaches that, win a pro show type of caliber. He might be able to win one this year if he steps into a show that's a bit weaker than this one, but I think what is really going to be tough for him, two guys I've got ahead of him are going to beat him in condition and are going to be just bigger, fuller, harder. So that
I think
is
also I want to say, maybe he'll hear me, but twist up your front double, bro. Turn to the side. Show that small waist. Shape is great from the front, but just it's even better when you're twisted.
you heard it, Matt. So in second place, I got Carlos Domar. I don't think Carlos is going to be the most peeled guy in this show, but I think he's probably, from a physique standpoint, the most complete guy here. But he's going to get slightly edged out in terms of posing and condition by Barbs. I got Barbs winning the show. I'm not picking against him, knowing what I know. Him and Sebastian nail the peak every time. He's going to be the sharpest guy in this show, and I know who's judging the show, and they value condition very heavily. I think
Yeah.
Barbs is going to be the sharpest guy here and probably the most polished. So it's my pick.
Right. All right. I'll follow up with my top five then. All right. So I'm not gonna be too much different from your lineup. But I really like that Cremo guy's look, and I feel like his conditioning is even better based on what I saw on his Instagram earlier. Um, so I'm gonna put him in fifth place. Um, and then Zeke, he's got a great look, and I feel like he's a good enough athlete that he learned from his previous placement that he needs to get better condition. And he's got a chance to sneak up. Like, I mean, he could win the show really, but I'm gonna put him in fourth place. Um, and then Grego, I'm gonna have Matt Grego. I'm gonna have in third place. Um, yeah, I mean, I said all the things I said about him earlier. He's great, but I think he'll just get Carlos is back. Standing right next to Grego. I think that's going to stand out just a little bit. And so I got Carlos in second, and then I'm going to agree with you and put Barb's in first, just because that conditioning is pretty undeniable. But I do want to say, because I feel like maybe I'm slightly biased, that Carlos could do it. It's gonna be real close between him and Barbs,
Mhm.
because that dude he's big, and I think it's really going to come down to, if they're both conditioned. I think it's going to really come down to posing, and just they're going to pose the crap out of them. So
100%, man. That's the key right there. I mean, Carlos is so good. I think he was one of the guys when I was doing the year-end awards last year. I mean, he's one of the most underrated guys in Classic, I think. Just really
definitely, I
does it.
definitely agree, because I didn't even know about him until I saw him do this show, and then he kind of just disappeared again. And he's great. Yeah, he's going to be a real threat.
Yeah. So that's JT's top five. So a little bit of a mix up there at 4 and 5, but we have the same top three guys. Those
Yeah.
are some guys you want to watch out for at this year's Atlanta Pro. Now, before we get going, I want to make sure to thank JT for coming on. Really appreciate your time, man. And if you guys don't follow JT already, make sure you follow him. So this is his Instagram at _JT Physique. Keep up with him. Use his codes. JT, is there anything you want to say to the people before we get going? Like plug any sponsors or just shout anybody out?
Yeah, I mean, check my page, as I've got a couple business things going on. Go buy some brownies for your post show treats. But I just want to say real quick, because I won't be long, but man, I got into a little online back and forth with this dude that was just, I didn't like his posing, the dude that won Universe, and it was huge. I got into a big argument, and I just want to say that if anybody is offended or anything by anything I say, like, it's a sport, and it's all meant to be constructive, and hopefully you guys just get better, like, period, regardless of what happens. Just get better, and you don't have to worry about nothing else. So yeah, that's all I got to say. I really appreciate you having me on and listening to my opinion.
Yeah, of course, man. Your opinion is highly valued, especially given who you are in the sport and what you've accomplished. So really appreciate your time, man. And I'll be looking forward to see your journey in men's physique now, man.
Yeah, we shall see.
All right, everybody. That's going to do it for the preview today. So this is Brant signing out for CPC Bodybuilding. See you guys.